Each season, we have impact freshmen in college basketball. This year is no different, and so it's time to pick the best freshmen so far in the biggest 6 conferences.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only national college daily hoops show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and I want to thank you for making us part of your Tuesday. Man, today, Jason Jordan, our college basketball recruiting insider, joins us to look at the best freshmen right now in each of the major 6 conferences, and we're going to pick our national freshman of the year as of today, January 10th. It's great to be joined today on Locked On College Basketball by our guy, Jason Jordan, our college basketball recruiting insider. By the way, we'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college basketball recruiting sponsor across the Locked On network, because these days, every new potential hire feels like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Jason, it's great to be together. We're about a week into January now. Conference slates are up and rolling, so we're even getting a better idea. And today it's all about the freshmen. And we want to make a distinction here because now in the transfer portal era, there's a lot of talk about newcomers and a lot of talk about freshmen. So we're not talking about newcomers. We're not talking about transfers. We're specifically talking about freshmen. And so what we're going to do is basically unpack each of the 6 major conferences, the Power 5 and the Jason and I are going to share who we think right now at this point, as of January 10th, is the player of the year for each of those conferences. And of course, we're going to give you our national freshman of the year as well. And so, Jason, I want to start with the SEC because I feel like it's the most absolutely loaded. Let me just run through a few of these names. Brandon Miller at Alabama, Cason Wallace at Kentucky, Anthony Black at Arkansas. Maybe we look at Nick Smith. It's just hard. He hadn't got that much of a sample size. Right. G.G. Jackson at South Carolina, Julian Phillips, Tennessee. I mean, we could keep going, but that's a great list to start with. As you hear some of those names and think about their performances so far this year, who do you like out of that grouping?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but it's not, because this is just how good his season has gone. And that's Brandon Miller. Definitely, I would pick him as the freshman in that conference for sure. I mean, he leads D1 freshman in scoring. Unless that's changed, or else I didn't check the late Sunday night games, and I don't think nobody had 150. So, 19, 8 and 8.5 rebounds a game. I think he's shooting like low 40s from 3. It's, that's, to me, it's tough because there is a deep talent pool, but he is the best of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would go with Miller as well. I mean, clear in a way. I don't think I would even really consider anybody else. But, man, some of these other guys are doing well. I think Anthony Black and Cason Wallace and G.G. G.G. Jackson are probably the 3 next that stand out to me most. But Tennessee held G.G. Jackson scoreless this weekend, Jason Jordan. Scoreless for G.G. Jackson. What's going on there?
I don't know. I always give freshmen, and because he's had because he's been pretty consistently good.
Yep.
Scoreless is a different animal. Let's be clear.
And to be fair, Tennessee is the best defense in the nation right now.
They are, but scoreless is a different animal. For who you're supposed to be. I need that never to hear. I don't want to hear scoreless. So, but freshmen, a lot of expectations. I mean, at some point you're going to hit a wall. Let's just hope it's not another scoreless wall.
Yes, absolutely. And G.G. Jackson still averaging 15.7 points per game, 7.1 rebounds. And so better, as I often like to say, better days are ahead for G.G. Jackson down there in Columbia.
Yeah.
Anybody else, like with the Nick Smith side of things, when you have a player like this who's projected as such a high NBA draft pick, what is your advice? Like, if you're Nick Smith Jr.'s dad, are you telling him, hey, you gave it a good run, let's just stay out and train for the NBA draft? Or like, is it come back and make things go for the Must Bus down in Fayetteville?
Yeah, no, I would say come back. I would say come back. And it just knowing how Nick's wired, it ain't gonna be. He's coming back. There's no way around it. And I think if you can play, you should play.
Yeah.
And I think it'll only help. I mean, if we're talking from a business standpoint, it'll only help his marketing and his stature, because I mean, adding him as a piece on that team, I mean, they're absolutely going to be playing deep into March. So that would be my sell from the coaching staff, and the way he's wired, he's ultra competitor. So I think I definitely would advise him to come and play if he can play at up to his potential. I would
Yes.
definitely say come
Yeah,
play. Yeah.
that's right. Well, then let's move on. And of course, you got Anthony Black there still at Arkansas as well. And so,
Yeah.
man, super fun freshmen both. Let's move. Let's stay in the south part and the east part of the country and go to the ACC, where the preseason player of the year, freshman wise at least, was Dereck Lively II for Duke. I don't think we're beating around the bush here to say or throwing any bombs unsurprised at people to say that Dereck Lively has not lived up to that at this point. But you look around the league, you look in his own locker room, and perhaps his teammate Kyle Filipowski has been the freshman of the year so far. But Dariq Whitehead's coming on a little bit. Tyrese Proctor's another great freshman at Duke, as is Mark Mitchell. Outside of that, I mean, JJ Starling's been good at Notre Dame. Isaac McNeely at Virginia. There's not really been too terribly many dynamic freshmen. Oh, I'm missing somebody from Syracuse, but
Judah Mintz.
Yes, Judah Mintz. Thank you.
Yeah.
But as you look around the ACC, Jason, who are you going with?
I would say Judah Mintz. Honestly, he's averaging 16 points a game. And obviously Syracuse isn't very good, but I mean, for him to come in and do that from I always said Judah was very much underrated. So it's not surprising to me that he's having success in this way. But for him to come in and that's a legendary coach who's on his last leg. He's living across the finish line at this point, and there's a lot of expectations, a lot of angry, frustrated fans there in Syracuse. So for him to, that's a lot to deal with. And for him to come in there and produce to that level, I still would give him a nod there, just because I know that comes with a great weight.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And to do that out of that, I mean, I guess sometimes we get some big time scores at Syracuse, like Buddy Boeheim, obviously Carmelo and some others, but it feels like with kind of that system with the zone, and then it kind of trickles down offensively. And so it's cool to see somebody having that kind of a big year. I would personally still go with Kyle Filipowski as my ACC freshman pick right now, but man, definitely close with Judah Mintz. Like, it's always so interesting to see with Duke who's going to come out of that cluster of stud freshmen, as we saw a couple years ago. We expected a couple other guys in Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett to be one of the dudes, and turns out Zion Williamson is once in a decade kind of a player. And so I'm not comparing him to Kyle Filipowski to Zion, but it's a similar thing. Let's move on, Jason, to the Big 12, another place with a couple stud freshmen, and there's two that really stand out in particular preseason. It's Keyontae George at Baylor. That is the Big 12 pick. But man, Gradey Dick has been phenomenal for Kansas. Was their leading scorer this weekend, and you got some other names, but for me, these are the top two. Is there anyone else you would consider outside of Gradey Dick or Keyontae George?
Well, I mean, there's a way I want to answer that question, but that wouldn't be very nice. But I would consider if certain people had different chances, but we can talk about that later. But no, those would be those are my two in that conference for sure. And I would probably lean Keyontae, just because he does. I got to be honest, Gradey does a lot too. I mean, people talk about his efficiency from the perimeter, but Grady's, I mean, my goodness, his layup package is crazy. He's got to be like Kyrie with the layup package. But Keyontae's at almost like, I think he's just under, I mean, if we're rounding up, he's at 17 a game, 4.5, and I think 3.5. And, running one of the top teams in the country. Obviously he's living up to the hype, and I like to give a nod when you're living up to the hype too.
Yes.
Right
Yes.
now, Brady's living up to the hype too, but he's not.
He wasn't
not
as hyped as
general.
Keyontae. Right.
Yeah, he wasn't as hyped, and he doesn't have the ball in his hands all the time.
Exactly.
So I would lean to Keyontae for those reasons.
Yeah, I think so too. And part of it is like with Keyontae, for many people, he was a preseason national player of the year kind of pick. And not that he's not living up to that, but yeah, he's doing very well. And then to your point with Gradey Dick, I mean, the leap Jalen Wilson has taken this year for Kansas enables Gradey Dick to not have to do as much. And I know he came, for most people's metrics, he was like in the 20s coming out. Do you remember where you had him coming out of high school ranked?
You're talking Gradey?
Yes.
Yeah, man. He was top 10. I think he might have been number 8 or something like that.
Gotcha.
He
Yeah.
was definitely top 10.
Okay. I love that. So Jason, I feel like that's higher than a lot of people were on Gradey Dick. So you knew what was up from the jump, and we'll all our props to our guy, Jason Jordan, on that one. Well, next coming up, we want to do this exact same thing with the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big East. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. You looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all the fat and calories? Then friends, you have to try a Built Bar. Just got through the holidays. I don't know about you. I'm packing a couple extra pounds that I wasn't before November, and I need to get some of those off. And so, man, with Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, these are so delicious, you won't even realize they're good for you. What makes them so good? Well, Built bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro and peanut butter brownie. I want all of that churro action, Jason Jordan. Give that to me. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. What's even better is that it's only 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, and yet still 17 grams of protein. And now you don't have to wait around to order a box like you used to have to. You can go now to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and pick yourself up a box. So head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy, grab yourself a box of Built bars. Or if you're close to Sam's Club, man, run in and grab a 13-bar box with some of their hit flavors like that brownie batter or that churro. And friends, you can thank me later. But don't forget, you can also still order online at built.com. Go get you some bars. Okay, Jason Jordan with us today on Locked On College Basketball. We are talking about our early January picks for Freshmen of the Year in each conference. We've done ACC, SEC, and Big 12. And now, Jason, we're going to move into the Big 10. Coming into this season, there's a couple unexpected up and down, but one who I think has fit the bill so far that we expected it is Indiana's Jalen Hood-Schifino, who had a massive game on Sunday in Indiana's loss, unfortunately. One that I think has done very well, perhaps even beyond expectations, is Juwan Howard's son, Jet Howard, at Michigan. Purdue's true freshman backcourt of Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith has been really good. Sky Clark, whoops, missed on that one. He left the Illinois program on Friday. One that I have really enjoyed watching is Ohio State's Bryce Sensabaugh. Jason, as you look around the Big Ten, any of those stick out to you? Anybody I'm missing? And who would you choose right now as the Big Ten Freshman of the Year?
Man, that's tough. I probably would lean to Jalen Hood-Schifino, just because they've had success, and he's had really big games and really big moments this season. But to your point, I mean, I would, Jet's doing really well. Jet looks like, and then, and then if we're basing it off, where they were at. I mean, I think Jet was like in the 40s for us or something like that, maybe the 30s. But he's averaging 14 a game, in year one for Michigan, and obviously. I mean, they're not having an amazing year, but 14 and 14.3, in the Big Ten, that's tough. That's real tough. But I still would lean Jalen Hood-Schifino, because he's playing with other elite players, other stars. Trace is there, and so I would still lean to him for a couple different reasons. those being the main reasons. So.
Okay, Jalen Hood-Schifino. Just to be a contrarian, I'm going to take Bryce Sensabaugh. Like, I
Yeah.
love what he's doing, 16
Yeah.
points a game right now. And somebody that it seems like from some of the early NBA draft stuff, he, like Jet Howard, is kind of vaulting up draft boards there. And I know Ohio State took a loss on Sunday. Was it at Maryland? But man, I trust that. I love this team. Almost knocked off Purdue last Thursday. Fell just shy of that. But I think at the end of the day that it will be Jalen Hood-Schifino. But I just want to keep hyping Bryce Sensabaugh. Love he's doing. And then, as we said, some miss there on Sky Clark, which I did not see coming. I got to be honest about that one. Jason, let's move to the Pac-12. And one of my favorite names in all of college basketball, Kalel Ware at Oregon. We got two guys at UCLA, Amari Bailey, who I was seeing before the season, but Adem Bona, I really had kind of missed the boat on. Harrison Ingram at Stanford was named the preseason Pac-12 Player of the Year. Kajani Wright at USC. Anybody else that we're missing there? And who would you go with for your Pac-12 pick right now?
I'll throw you a curveball. I'll say Jordan Pope at Oregon State.
Ooh, love it.
I just love Jordan. I loved him at Prolific Prep. He played with MJ Rice. And he was probably like the maybe the fourth tier player on that team because they had Trey White, MJ Rice, Adem Bona. And then he was like the fourth option, but he was always very much a heady player who would just score in bunches. And now he's averaging 12.3 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds a game. They're not in the top 25.
Sure.
But he's producing at a high rate. So I would go, curveball, and I would go Jordan Pope.
I love it. Love that. And so we'll keep tabs on the Pac-12. You mentioned MJ Rice there. We didn't hit on him in the Big 12 conversation, but he might be one of those as we get to our over and under kind of guys. Yeah. But we'll have to look at that. Let's round out our conference conversation by moving to the Big East. To me, kind of similar to what we said with the Big 12, this is probably a two-man race, one of whom isn't even a starter. UConn's Donovan Clingan has kind of come out of nowhere for me, but the dude, Cam Whitmore at Villanova, kind of coming back from injury. I know Villanova is struggling to get up off the mat, and man, I'm worried about them even making the NCAA tournament at this point, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But Cam Whitmore is an absolute stud. Anybody else, Jason, from the Big East that you would look at, and who would be your pick?
Well, those would be the ones I would zero in on, and I would definitely lean toward Cam. Yep. Just because, he just checks off so many boxes, and and I think the consistency is what does it for me. And he's been on a steady, I wouldn't say sharp, but I would say a steady rise for the last 2 years, if you really look at it. And so I like to reward consistency because that's more rare than not, unfortunately. And I think people overlook that. So I would definitely say Cam, just because he's a utility guy and obviously very skilled, but he's a guy who's going to help you win. And obviously we're talking about them not making the tournament, but right. He's definitely a guy who's who you can ride. You can ride him till the wheels fall off because he's just built tough like that. Yep. So I just like a guy who can check off a lot of boxes.
And it's so tough for Villanova this year. I mean, they're still without Justin Moore, obviously, new coach, Kyle Neptune this season, and so it's just one of those.
Oh yeah, a lot of reasons why they're not winning. I mean, it's not just that. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. What is it about Cam Whitmore's game and approach that makes him so consistent? I know that consistency is something you talk about a lot, Jason. That draws you to a player. What is it in his game that causes that allows that to happen?
Well, I think for him specifically, it's a more of a mentality thing. I mean, he's a workhorse. I could say that, but it becomes the cliche. Oh, he's a workhorse. He works really hard. He stays after. He's the first one there, lastly. Yeah, all that. But it's just the mentality of I will not be denied. That kind of mentality. He's relentless. He's like always in pursuit of being better. Like, he's a guy that's always going to have something to say that he could have done better, even in a 12 for 12, 15 rebound game.
Yeah.
Like, I should have got 16. He's wired like that. So I think, obviously that's going to make you a special player, but it's just it's gonna make you productive, yes, but it's gonna make you it's gonna give you the edge to be good. There are good players and they're special. I think that's the mentality is what tips the scale for him.
I love that. Love that. Okay, folks, we want to hear your picks as well. You've heard what Jason and I have been saying. I'm also going with Cam Whitmore in the Big East. Who have we missed? Who would be your pick in each of these conferences? Let us know where we got and where we got it wrong. Coming up next, we are going to talk about some players that we think are overperforming expectations, some that are underperforming expectations, either by lack of opportunity or by lack of playing. And we're going to give you our right now National Freshman of the Year picks coming up in just a second. Okay, Jason Jordan, we've talked about these 6 conferences, the Power 5, the Big East, who our picks are for each of those. Let me run back through each of those. For the SEC, we're both going with Brandon Miller. ACC, I'm taking Kyle Filipowski. You went with Mr. Judah Mintz. Big 12, we're both taking Keyontae George. Moving on to the Big 10, Jason's going with Jalen Hood-Schifino from Indiana. I'm having some Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State action. Pac-12, I've already forgotten now. I didn't write it down.
I did Jordan Pope.
Jordan Pope, that's right.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking with Kalel L. Ware. And then in the Big East, we're both taking Cam Whitmore. Love that little run through back. Now, Jason, as we know, whether it's just taking time adjusting to college, to a scheme, to just even opportunity, more opportunity than you thought, less opportunity than you thought. There's always freshmen who just over exceed or under exceed. Let's start with guys who aren't quite doing it. Who are some guys either by their own performance or by lack of opportunity aren't living up to what we expected for them this season?
Well, I got to start in Kansas, and I gotta call Bill Self to the carpet, because I don't get it. He's gonna have to come out and tell me something. I don't know why MJ Rice doesn't play. I mean, I think
Is that who you were alluding to earlier?
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know why he doesn't. When he gets in, he's super productive. And he almost treats him like he's not a McDonald's All-American, one of the highest ranked players that he brought in. It's weird. I don't know. He's gonna have to come out and give me more. Why he's not? Because I mean, people ask him because they're like, "Why? What's going on?" Like, and he'll be like, "Oh, well, we're gonna need him down the stretch." It's like, okay, well,
that's a nothing answer.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. And when he gets in, he's very productive. So he's built like an ox. I mean, he's 6'5", super skilled, knocks down shots. I mean, he has the freshman learning curve defensively, but don't they all? We talk about this all the time. So I need more information there. He will be one bit because because Bill didn't give me the information. I got to say that's because of Bill. Because Bill didn't tell me anything else, and what I've heard from him is glowing. So, obviously Dereck Lively. I mean, like, come on,
it's a no-brainer. Yeah,
player of the year in the ACC. He's averaging 3 a game,
something like that. I'll look it up while you're
come on, man. Is it? I don't know. Whatever. It's bad. He plays behind Ryan Young. No disrespect to Ryan Young,
but that tells you what you need. Yeah, 3.7 a game and 3.2 total rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, and I know
7'1" player
had some injuries, whatever. But I mean, at this point, we got we've been playing long enough to And Ryan Young would be surprised that he starts over Dereck Lively if I told you that in August, Ryan. So no knock to him. Johan Traore, Traore would be another one.
Yep.
Chris Livingston would come to mind. Yep. I would say Arterio Morris at Texas, but I think that has a lot to do with the personnel they have there. I mean, they have
absolutely
So, but those would be some names that come.
Those are great names on that list. Yeah, absolutely. What about, Jason, guys who are doing more than you would have thought, either based on where they're playing, their skill set, what you saw from them in high school or on the AAU circuit, guys who are overperforming expectations?
Well, Jet Howard
Yeah.
would definitely be one of the first names that comes to mind. Having a great year there with his dad. Bryce Sensabaugh, we talked about earlier, he would be one. Judah Mintz,
Yeah.
not shocking, but I think he's shocking a lot of people just with his ability to score in a variety of different ways. And for a different reason, kind of piggybacking off the Dereck Lively stuff, Kyle Filipowski, because people thought that it was going to be reversed. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't think that, because I always said Kyle was the guy that could run the offense through. He's more of the creator.
Yep.
And so, who knew he was also Christian Laettner mentality wise?
Yeah.
In a good way. I think that's great. I think that's what made Christian Laettner. So I love the mentality. But
makes the winning free throws for Duke at Boston College this weekend. I mean, that's tough. Yeah.
That's tough. So I would say those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Well, Jason, it is time to declare who right now, as of Tuesday, January 10th, is our national freshman of the year. And listen, I don't think either of us are coming with any surprises here, but who do you have as your choice for this one?
Right. Totally going to shock the world on this one, but I'm definitely going to go with Brandon Miller at Alabama. I mean, Alabama's first in the SEC, 14-2 overall. 19.1 a game, 8.5 rebounds, shooting 43% from the 3-point line.
So
I'm gonna go with the easy pick. I don't want to be controversial. I'm just gonna go with that one. I say Brandon.
Absolutely. And rather than saying somebody different, I'll just say, and it's not just about, sometimes with these guys, it's like, oh man, he is a phenomenal college basketball player. Right. This dude is rocketing up NBA draft boards right now. I've seen him in every lottery that I've seen, and not just fringe lottery, top 5, 6, 7 in that range. And so, man, it's great to see what he's doing. A big part of the reason why Alabama just absolutely boat raced Kentucky this weekend, and he didn't even have that great of a game himself by his standards. And so, that's two teams going in different directions this year.
Yeah, big
for
time.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we will have to see if Brandon Miller can carry on last year at this point. Jabari Smith at Auburn was doing all this, and then Auburn kind of fell off a little bit as the season went along. And so that's something to keep your eyes on, is, as Jason said, a lot of these freshmen hit that freshman curve, learning curve, And so who can avoid that the best? I think that's something to watch as we go through these dog days of January and February. Jason Jordan, great stuff as always. Thanks for your insights and thoughts on all of these dudes trying to find their way in college basketball.
Thanks for having me, as always.
Big thanks, as always, to Jason Jordan for joining us on today's show. Make sure to give him a follow on Twitter at JasonNC Jordan. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Isaac Schade. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnCBB. By the way, please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the show. Just hit that button down there at the bottom and give us comments on your thoughts on our picks. And we want to know yours as well on today's conversations. All right, folks, a good slate of games tonight. Highlighted North Carolina heads to Virginia. Make sure you check that out. And we will be right back with you tomorrow. But until then, peace.